Okay. So I never know exactly when we're actually live because I can't tell by when it stops. So I like to just kind of hang out here. We're getting ready to get started. I'm really excited to be getting ready to get started. I'm going to make sure that my sound is off on here and that they can't hear my duplicate, and we are started. Yay. Hello everybody, and welcome to my Facebook page. And I'm excited to be here today to share with you an amazing person. I've just got to meet her over the last few weeks. I've gotten to meet her over the last few months online, but to actually meet her in person last month. And she's got something amazing. And she started sharing with me what it was that she has going on here. I was thrilled. I was really excited because I hadn't heard anybody speak about this sort of stuff before. So I want to make sure, and I'm just going to make sure that there's no echo. So hold on for a minute, Michelle, while I'm introducing people. And it looks like there is an echo, and I can't figure out where the darn echo is coming from. Can you hear an echo now? Yeah.
I don't.
Okay. Well, let me step back. Maybe it's just me. All right. So let's just get back. So I wanted to share Michelle with all of you because when she started speaking about something called the Heartsong, it just intrigued me. I'd never heard the concept before. I'd never heard of it before. It's something that she's created, and it has to do with each and every one of us having this particular heart song. So she's going to explain all that, what it means. But let me tell you before we do get started a little bit about Michelle. Michelle, she has been dealing with the pain, confusion, and frustration of the medical system that only wanted to increase prescriptions and recommend invasive procedures. And she's been dealing with that for her own health and also for her family health. And as a result, she has become, she's now a natural medicine practitioner, and she helps clients to deal with things in ways that she never had access to when she first started having issues. So she was actually born with a diseased colon, and it had to be partially removed. And she had a colostomy bag when she was 3 years old. And that's really, it's 3 days old. Holy cow, Michelle, this is crazy. So 3-day-old baby, and now she has a colostomy bag, and of course didn't get the kind of care that she needed to actually truly heal, to get to the root cause. So she learned the importance of believing in the impossible and trusting in the body's ability to heal, even when death seems imminent. And when you have a 3-day-old baby, that's been a really scary thing. Even though she consciously couldn't deal with it, there's this subconscious that deals with those kinds of stresses and traumas, and it makes a huge difference in life later. And then over and over again, the message of hope, faith, and resilience has resonated through major turning points in her life. She used food and herbs to heal from postpartum depression and a diagnosis of bipolar, which she feels was unfounded based on a 15-minute consult. She's also helped her daughter heal from diabetes and countless diagnoses of psychiatric disorders. And she took on the Department of Child and Family Services. She took them to court to advocate for her daughter's right not to be medicated with dangerous drugs. And instead, she was able to help her daughter with diet, lifestyle things. So when she was sick in the hospital bed due to exhaustion of taking care of others, she discovered a tried and true system of integrating natural healing modalities and modern scientific advances to get to the root cause. So she's an integrative wellness specialist. She's been an educator for over 25 years, a natural healthcare professional for over 15 years, and earned a doctorate in naturology, board certified alternative healthcare provider specializing in functional endocrinology, blood chemistry, colon hydrotherapy, heart math, childbirth education, and more. And she's currently in our nutritional endocrinology practitioner training, as if she needed even more credentials. But she's an amazing person. She's an amazing learner, and she has something to share that's right from here, right from her heart. And it's a big connection to yours. And so many times we have things that are going on in early life that create this imprint that prevents you from being your best self later on. And today, Michelle and I are going to discuss that and her concept of Heartsong and how that might apply to you and help accelerate your own healing. So welcome, Michelle. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Ritamarie. I am enthused and honored.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I am just so majorly excited that you agreed to be here with me today to do this and share this with our audience. So, what I want to do first and foremost is to give some idea, like what is a heart song? Like, how do people know they have a heart song, and what is it? And does everybody have it?
Well, the reality is that everyone has a heart song. And as much as I would like to take credit for the concept of heart song, it really has nothing to do with me. I'm just a vessel. It's really based on ancient understandings from various different traditions about the fact that we come into this world not as disconnected entities, but rather as expressions of the divine being. And so what I tell people is that we are really human beings. We are really divine beings having a human expression. And so in certain customs in traditional Africa, and it also replicates in other traditions, there is a concept that when a child comes into the world, the child comes in with a definite understanding of what he or she wants to what he or she wants to accomplish. And that's, known what we would consider as our mission or our purpose, and it's amazing that so many of us, when I speak to people, we have this idea of, oh, I don't know why I'm here. What is the purpose of my being? And yet these ancient cultures had that understanding. And so when a child came into the world, that was what was part of the naming ceremony. A name wasn't just a label. A name was a reminder to the spirit of the child every single day of what he or she is supposed to be here for. And so in essence, your heart song is just your authentic self. It is a true expression of the you that you came into this world to be.
Wow. So where does it come from? I mean, is it religious? How does this come about?
Well, it's not religious. It's really based on an understanding of there being a universal spirit, a universal soul. And in actuality, what I've done in the heart song system is that I've merged several different cultures as far and as diverse as people would think. So a lot of it comes out of the Kabbalistical system or the ancient Jewish system. So when you look at what we call the blueprint for the heart and soul, which is something that we will be sharing with you later, it is very, very reflective of the tree of life coming from the ancient Kabbalah, and looking at how the spirit is broken up or how different parts of the spirit can be referred to. And so it's also merging Christian tradition. So we merge what's called the fruit of the spirit. So you have what's called, what we can refer to as, again, the ancient soul or the universal soul. But when it manifests in this world as physical and tangible things, it manifests as, quote unquote, the fruit of the spirit, which we refer to as the principles of love, peace, patience, temperance, humility, gentleness, goodness. And these are fruit of the spirit is a concept that you will see duplicated in practically every spiritual tradition that you can find. In fact, I mean, I've been studying various spiritual traditions from the I Ching to Buddhism and Taoism to Ayurvedic things. And in every single culture that I look at, there is this emphasis on the good. There is this emphasis on understanding that we have a need to develop different parts of our emotional and spiritual being.
This is fascinating. And so you've developed a system of helping people using this ancient tradition to help them to get rid of some of these emotional blocks. That's something I'm really fascinated with hearing about.
Well, again, it's really an ancient concept. And so one of the things that I guess people can relate to is if you've ever been to a synagogue, or if you've ever been to a church, or if you've ever been to a mosque or even to a temple, there is always an emphasis on music and sound. Even when I go back to my upbringings in terms of the Catholic Church and that emphasis on the chants. Yeah. And it's more about putting someone into a state of being where you are relaxed and receptive so as to work on that emotional, spiritual component. And that is something that, you know, a lot of times when we are dealing with emotions that are very strong and, you know, things like anger and frustration and anxiety and depression. And when I talk to my clients, sometimes they refer to these emotions almost as if they were actual physical entities that are oppressing them, things that kind of take them over. So you will sometimes hear people say, I don't know what came over me. You know, I can't even remember what I said when I was in that fit of anger. I don't know what happened. You know, I was so depressed and I fell asleep and I can't recall the past couple of hours. And people become, in a way, sabotaged by these emotions where they have lost control, and that emotional energy has in actuality taken possession, in a way of speaking, of their beings, meaning that it prevents them from being able to feel the fruit of the spirit, feel the love, feel the temperance, feel the faith, feel the humility, feel the peace and the tranquility. And so through the use of different sounds, and then again, you see even in different traditions, the use of different essential smells like frankincense and myrrh and lavender and sage. All of these are what we can refer to as essential oils or aromas that were used to help to, in a way, transport the body, transport someone from an area of depleting emotions into an area of renewed emotions where the person could actually not only cleanse from that negativity, but also heal and move on. And, you know, what's really exciting to me is the new research that has come out about adverse childhood events and the effect that it has on not only a child, but the effect that it has on us as adults. And this is something that we refer to in Heartsong as emotional anchors, where you are tied, you're tethered to the past based on some type of emotional imprinting that occurred in your childhood. And the importance of what we're talking about here is that it's not only the emotional memories of our childhood, but even the emotional memories of, say, a month ago. Maybe something traumatic happened. You know, we have our soldiers coming back. And I was a former military wife, and having my former husband come back from the Iraq war, and that just oppression that just had hold of him. And, you know, it was through that type of prayer and that type of moving into the sound and moving into to what we call the therapeutic harmonics, that we're able to allow that part of our being to heal. I'm not hearing you.
Because I had some noise in my background. Was this something that takes a long time to do? Like your husband came back from the war. There's a lot of soldiers like that, and we call it PTSD and a lot of other names for what they're experiencing. Is it something that they have to work on for years, or is it something that can help them more in the short term, which is what they need, right? So they're not committing suicide and all these horrible things.
Well, in reality, it's not something that takes a long time. And the flip side of it is that it's not something that is limited to just major trauma. You know, it's actually a tool that, you know, we can teach children, that we can teach ourselves to help us to move and shift ourselves emotionally, not only when we have major stuff happening in our lives, but when small things happen. So for instance, you know, when I have a situation with my partner, and I'm filled with anger and frustration, there are these therapeutic harmonics that I utilize to help myself to shift into feeling more loving, feeling more humble sometimes. There are also moments when I have a need to rev myself up, you know, and I have a need to, I guess you can say, exercise a little bit of discipline in certain areas of my life. And so I use these harmonics to help me to shift into that mode. There are times when I'm confused about certain things, and rather than allow myself to slip further and further into despair and confusion, I will use a certain harmonic in order to help me to clear my mind and help me to move my heart into a zone of receptivity so that I can hear what I call the divine wisdom of the universe. Mm-hmm. And so these harmonics are used not only for short term, but it can be used for long term. And, you know, when we talk about tragedy that occurs to us or trauma, you know, life happens. And unfortunately, a lot of times the only thing we hear people say is, oh, well, you have to think positive, think positive, think mm-hmm. positive. And the reality is that the heart doesn't listen to the head. You know, it's ironic that you can say to yourself, I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be angry at Scooby-Doo or whomever. And interestingly enough, the more you say you're not going to be angry, the more you start to well up with anger. And that's one of the things that I came to realize with my person, that my mind is always moving, you know, miles per second. And I had to find a way to shut down the thoughts. And, you know, even the traditions that say, oh, clear your mind and think of nothing.
Meditate.
Well, that didn't work for me. You know, okay. I had to have a focus for my heart to anchor onto. And once I anchored onto the sound, that helped me to actually move. And that's where the meaning of the word emotion comes from. Emotion is to move, to emote, to move. You know, so we talk about emojis, and emojis help to move you energetically, move you emotionally from one place to another place. And then when you integrate the sounds with the essential oils or with the aromas, along with colors, then you have this phenomenal powerhouse, this phenomenal triad that's able to go in the back door and sneak in where other things can't. You know, so in the realm of what we call heart math, we talk about what's referred to as the amygdala hijack, where you have certain conditioned behaviors, certain knee-jerk reactions. You know, someone will say something, sometimes innocuously, but it triggers that emotional memory, and you just keep looping and looping, and it's like you're being controlled by a puppeteer, and you sometimes have no recollection of being interesting or being so infuriated or saying certain things. And so by using the harmonics and using the oils and using the colors, we're able to create a new program within someone, so that when that type of situation comes up, you trigger that new program. And you can trigger that new program with little prompts or catalysts, such as, you know, wearing a certain essential oil. So we talk about wearing things like jasmine to help to trigger that feeling or that emotion of humility, that emotion of nurturing, of being nurtured. And these are different things that we integrate within the system, you know, to program ourselves to have a different reaction and to prep ourselves for certain difficult situations, as well as to use in the moment.
So is this something, so you keep talking about a system. So this is a system you've developed of using these combination of therapeutics, for lack of a better word, to shift things. And I'm getting the impression that it's something like there's some kind of recording they can listen to, they can use oils, and so that people can learn how to, I guess, notice when they're having some of these feelings come up, and then be able to use tools rather than, whereas when you talked about the mantras, you didn't say mantras, you said the, where you repeat things over and over. Right, I'm forgetting.
The harmonics.
Yeah, but when we use words, right? When we use those, affirmations. So affirmations seem to come from up here, right? And this is helping to make those affirmations, if you want to use them, coming from here because you're shifting in using these other tools. That
So we talk about willpower, and what I would like people to think about is willpower is actually two words. There's will and then there's power. And will comes from the mind. Will is where you have the importance of affirmations and the importance of reflecting on what your belief system is. And then you may shift your ideas, but now you've got to give power to the change in behavior. So the will gives us a direction, gives us a compass of where we want to go. And then the power, which comes from the heart, actually moves the vehicle, which is our being, into that direction. And so that's what's so important about what we're doing with Heartsong, which is to combine the will and activate it with the power. And that's something that you don't see very often. You know, sometimes you will have people who are very emotive and very, you know, intuitive, but they haven't yet activated or reflected on the belief structure. And so they're giving power to the wrong things. And then on the flip side, you have people saying, yes, I'm doing these affirmations. And yes, I believe. But the heart hasn't gotten that message because the heart doesn't speak in words. The heart doesn't speak in written text and, you know, things coming out of our mouth. The heart speaks the language of emotions. And that comes through music. And so I know everyone in the audience can relate to, you know, times when you were down and you put a certain CD in, or maybe I'm dating myself, you know, put in a certain track on your device in order to lift your spirit, in order to move you. And so what we're talking about is doing that consciously and specifically and in a targeted manner. So, you know, we start out the first 11 days of the intense program in terms of looking at our belief systems and identifying where there is a gap between what we are expressing and bringing to life in our lives, as opposed to what we want to express and bring forth in our lives. And first, we have to identify what that gap is. And so we take people through the tree of life, you know, and the tree of life talks about the different fruit of the spirit. So we first go to the top, which is the feeling of peace, and realizing what type of belief structure is important for you to be able to have a sense of peace. And then we continue going down the entire tree, looking at all the different fruits and finding out what it is that is obstructing our ability to bring forth that particular energy. And for some people, it can become really, really deep, in the sense that they start to reflect on incidents that have occurred, not only in their current, you know, area of life, but sometimes going back to childhood. And sometimes people even tell me that they've had progressions that go further back into quote unquote previous lives. And that is essential in order to line up the will, in order to line up the compass. And then we then talk about how to bring forth and how to utilize the different therapeutics and how to combine them with the essential oils and with the colors. And the beauty is that when you shift things emotionally, it starts to affect the organ systems as well. You know, so there are different harmonics that pertain to different organ systems. And so when we talk about the heart song of an individual, it's to identify where is it that you have a particular obstruction? Where is it that you keep on looping? There's a certain lesson that each of us came into this world to learn. And when you take time to really reflect on your life, you will start to notice what we call a theme, you know, and a theme is something that keeps reoccurring. Maybe the people change, maybe the location changes, but the lesson that you're supposed to learn, it keeps on looping and looping in various different manifestations until you learn it. And so that's what your heart song is. Your heart song is you reminding yourself of the key that is needed for you to express a certain aspect of your divinity. So for instance, my heart song is the heart song of love, because that is where I keep on looping and looping and looping. That's where I have my biggest challenges in life, in learning the lesson of how to love, meaning to give, to seek nothing in return. And if I look back on the major areas that have challenged me in my life, it usually has that underlying theme to it, that, you know what, if I had been able to express divine love more, with more clarity, with more power, and with more intensity, I would not have had that much difficulty. And so now that I've become more aware that this is my mission, to learn how to express God's love more effectively and to bring that forth on earth, now I constantly sing that to myself, you know, because I know that that is my key to being successful, not only in my personal life, but also in my professional life, in my business, and everything of that nature.
Wow. And so when you spoke about it, it sounds like, is there a finite number of heart songs, or is there as many heart songs as there are people?
Well, there are, I guess you can say, there are 9 fruit of the spirit, but there are always different combinations, and there are always individual expressions of every single fruit. And within each fruit is another tree. And then, you know, each person, you may start off with, quote unquote, the generic heart song. And then as time goes by, as you explore that more and more in your life, then you start to create, your heart starts to sing a specific heart song for you. And so for me, as I said, I have the generic heart song, but then I also have the heart song that is specifically for me. That is my specific name. And so, you know, there are different traditions, even if we go back to the Bible, if we go back to the Kabbalah, if we go back to several different communities where people change their names as they live life, because as you live life, you may master certain aspects of your spirit, and then you develop a new lesson, a new item that you have to learn. And then your name changes. And your name, in another way of speaking, is your heart song. Your heart song is your name. It's that which is meant to remind you and to enable you to be able to bring forth that divine part of your spirit, so that you can be the person that you want to be, happy and prosperous and healthy.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've used this to help people to regain their health. And that's what a lot of people are listening in, because they're stuck in their health. There's certain health challenges that maybe keep repeating over and over, or they kind of know what to do, but don't always find the way to do it. So can you speak to that a little bit?
And, you know, this is a very key point, because I noticed that, you know, about 10 years ago when I was working with clients, and I had certain what we would call complex cases that, you know, just kind of throw you. And these are the people that you've tried everything, you know, you look and you say, but the protocol, it should have worked, you know, golly, what's wrong with this? You know, and a particular person comes to mind. It was an older woman that I was working with. And we had done all kinds of liver cleanses, and we did all the support herbs and, you know, all the different things, the support foods and things of that nature to help her in terms of her liver. And yet her liver enzymes weren't coming down. You know, that's one of the markers that we do in a blood chemistry panel. And it just floored me. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then one day she started talking to me about what had happened to her with regards to her late husband, and the frustration that she felt and the bitterness that she felt towards the healthcare practitioners that dealt with her husband. And she felt that it was because of their lack of care that he left her prematurely. And in listening to her, I could hear that bitterness. And this is someone that, you know, prior to this, she was just the sweetest person, you know, and I never picked up on that aspect. And so as she started to talk about that embitteredness, you know, I started to say, that's the connection, because, for those people who are familiar with Chinese medicine, again, something that we integrate in terms of heart song, there is that connection between that bitterness, that bile, that inability to let go of just that, that it just leaves that bad taste in your mouth. That is correlated with the liver. And so when she started to be able to talk to me about that and to be able to release that, that is when we finally were able to see a shift in her liver enzyme numbers. And so, there are times when I look at even the situation with people who are a lot of times diabetic, and there is that connection to not feeling nurtured, not feeling that they are being nourished. Sugar is the element that, quote unquote, gives us our energy, gives us our nourishment. And there are a lot of people who are diabetic who have that tendency of feeling as if they were never loved. They were never given the sweetness in life that they should have been given. And so therefore they start craving the sugar, and you'll never detach yourself from that craving of sugar until you deal with that emotional side of what's going on.
Right. I love that. It's interesting because I know from what I know about you, you're very techy, very left-brained into being able to look at the labs and analyze things, but then you're very right-brained in terms of these emotions and all this stuff. And in your opinion, is that really like the recipe for people to heal, is to be able to, you have to look at what the body's actually doing, but you can't just look at it as a piece of paper with some numbers on it that you address?
I think that is the key. That is one of the most difficult lessons that I had to learn, because as you said, I'm definitely a type A by every stretch of by every definition. And so, it's like, but where's the proof? And what show me how that's related.
How does that work?
And heart song is about taking a step back and listening to a different proof, and I talk to people and I say, really and truly, my goal is for you to listen to your heart, to realize that no matter how many alphabet soups may be behind my name or anyone else's name, it does not mount up to a hill of beans if you don't feel it in your heart. And for people, especially in our culture, we have learned to not trust our heart. We'll trust everything else out there, and we're constantly looking at Dr. Google and Dr. Oz and Dr. Axe and Dr. whomever it may be. And we don't trust ourselves. We don't listen to our spirits. And that, I think, is what is crippling so many of us, that we have forgotten that the only person who really, really knows your truth is you. And that is what Heart Song is about. It's about taking a step back and breathing into your authentic self and affirming your authentic self and trusting that it exists. Because a lot of us don't even believe it exists. We need other people to confirm different things. And we some people never have ever known what it's like to trust themselves. We'll look through 50 books, but we will never look and say, well, this is happening, and go with what's happening inside of our beings and make that be the ultimate answer. So for me, it's been a journey, and it continues to be a journey, because each day, there are different, what I call gremlins that come in mentally, and there are different demons that come in emotionally that tug at me and say, nah, Michelle, this is just a bunch of hooey. This is just a bunch of woo-woo, because trust me, I'm definitely the kind of person that says, oh, that's woo-woo stuff. Show me the labs, But the reality is that this is what has brought me peace, where labs I've done herbs, I've done homeopathic remedies, I've done, supplements, but this has brought me the emotional peace that has allowed me to heal on a deeper level that was not able to be touched by all those other things.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, people, you see people all the time. I see people all the time who've done so much. They're watching all the summits and they're going to Google and Oz and all the other places, and they're doing, and it seems like they've gone gluten-free and they're off of dairy and they're off of sugar and they're meditating, and there's still something. You're going like, what's going on? And so this is another avenue for looking at. I think it's a huge one. And I've seen the same thing. I don't know anything about your Heartsong methodology. I'm very fascinated. I want to learn a lot more. But from the standpoint of, okay, what's going on with this person? What kind of trauma did they have in their early childhood? What kind of emotional thing is getting locked in, like you said, looping and looping and looping, and not allowing them to access their inner healer?
And the key here is really that sense of self-empowerment, because what I tell people is no one can take this journey for you. Where it'll go, I haven't a clue, and we can sit down and talk to people about the things that occur to us, and that has its place. And yet, in order for us to shift emotionally, it's a personal journey that only the individual can take. That healing journey cannot be, no doctor can heal you emotionally. No other person can heal you on a spiritual, emotional level. It has to be something that you take on your own. And for some of us, that's very scary, because that's going into, like Star Trek, frontiers where no man has gone before. I mean, literally, no one has been to your frontier, and no one can get to your frontier except you. And sometimes that's scary for us. It's been scary for me at different points, dealing with, childhood trauma from sexual abuse and things of that nature. And being able to have the strength to be able to face that trauma, to go back and to heal that, and to go back and to heal myself and to love myself for who I was then and who I've become. And that's what I love in terms of sharing this gift that was given to me, because like I said, it's not from me. It's something that's ancient that I've just been blessed to be able to be a vessel for. And I tell people that just suspend your doubt for just a moment, So if I say, okay, I want to share with you one of the therapeutics, okay? Just for a moment. And I just want you to just, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you're not comfortable in doing so, you can leave them open. Okay. So I want you to just take a deep breath in and let it out. Cherry. Cherry. So what we do is that, you keep repeating the harmonic over and over to get into a zone where you are in sync, where you are allowing yourself to let go of the need to hold on. And as I said, this is something that some of us need a little bit more crutches, like I need a little bit more crutches. And so that's where I use the essential oil. So with this particular harmonic, the essential oil would be like honeysuckle or anise. And this is the harmonic that pertains to love. So many times when we are in a situation where we are angry, we're being held, we're being trapped by that emotion of anger. And we don't want to bring that to the people that we love. This is something that, I put on the little anise, I'll put on the little honeysuckle. I may wear some yellow or some light blue, put my hair up with that color, and then I'll start saying this to myself. And by doing that and breathing deeply, and there are different breathing patterns that we teach people in order to hold on to that energy and to expand that energy and radiate it through our entire beings, and hopefully even to the ones that we were previously feeling that state of anger with, and you'll notice that there's nothing in here that talks about, oh, I'm going to be thinking this, so the harmonics, this one is Ong Shering. It has no literal meaning. So there's nothing to sit there and dissect. Well, I'm supposed to be saying this. I'm supposed to be thinking this. I'm supposed to, no, that, unfortunately gets in the way of us being able to manifest love. Those thoughts come up and it starts to redirect our emotions to previous emotional memories of anger and frustration and doubt and confusion. And so whenever those gremlins try to take hold of me, whenever those anchors try to reel me back, this is what I do to shift, to be able to manifest the emotion that I want to manifest. And that's the other misperception that a lot of people have, that, that emotions are not within our control. It's like, oh, well, I just got angry, so-and-so made me angry.
Yeah, you hear that all
that's
the time.
giving up your power. And so by doing something like this, you're reclaiming your power, and you say, you know what, enough of that anger, enough of the frustration and the doubt and the fear. I want to manifest love. Yeah. So how do I configure things so that I will manifest that love? And, it's just been a blessing, because I've seen people be able to shift, to make that emotional shift, and to create a new pattern, a new baseline for their interactions with others, as well as their interactions with themselves, to heal, as well as their interactions with their sense of divine purpose.
Nice. Wow. So this is all fascinating, and I really love this aspect, because I'm like you, I'm very left brain, but there's this right brain part of me that's like, oh, fascinated, and I see it in people. No matter how much left brain stuff I apply to this protocol or this lab or that, there are some people that go, there's something else there. So I love this. But how would somebody get started? People are listening and they're going, oh yeah, I'm stuck. I'm just like that. That's me. What do they do?
Well, there are lots of ways to get started. We have the link for the free download for you guys who are here with us today and who will see this later on. And this download is for what we call the blueprint of the heart and soul. And it tells you the different correspondences. So it tells you, for instance, to be able to bring forth that energy of humility. The colors that you want to use in your life are blues and whites. And it tells you, you want to wear jasmine, and you want to, use the harmonic of Ong Duhum. And so it gives you all of those different correspondences for the different quote unquote fruits of the spirit. And then additionally, when you sign up to be able to receive this download, you'll also receive a link to be able to listen to the harmonics, so that, some of us are challenged, like myself. I can be challenged at different times, and I need to hear it. you know, then there are other people like your Patti LaBelle's out there, you know, that can just go ahead, and your Celine Dion, they can hear something one time and they'll be able to sing it for themselves. So for those of us who are challenged, you know, we have the harmonics on the website that you can go back and you can listen to them.
Nice.
Download them onto your device. We also have an app at the Google Play Store. It's called FOS, so Fruit of Spirit Meditation.
FOS. Okay.
And it's only an Android app, but like I said, for those people who may have an Apple device, you can always download the different tracks on our website. And then for those of you who are really adventurous and you want to delve into this journey more deeply, we're going to start our next class on the 22nd, and we started the day before the new moon because it's a 28-day process. And we, just like the cycle of the moon, we're going to be building up and crescendoing and then coming down. So we're going to be exploring all of the different aspects of the spirit and just exploring our belief systems. And then after day 11, we're going to actually learn how to blend all of those things, blend the harmonics with the essential oils. And we're going to be doing that in actual group sessions online. So you're going to be able to listen to the music. You know, by that time, hopefully you will have acquired 1 or 2 essential oils so you can dab it yourself with it or put it in your diffuser and, you know, take that journey inside, take that journey to that inner realm that a lot of us don't have an opportunity to explore usually.
Yeah, awesome. You know, and it's funny, well, you came into the world with trauma, and a lot of people had a lot of that early childhood trauma, and there's a lot of study right now that really shows the link between those early traumas and our health. So if you've been challenged throughout your life, you were a sickly kid, you had asthma, you had all kinds of stuff growing up, you may be looking for the right herb or the right supplement or the right lab test to diagnose your condition, when in reality it's this trauma that's locked in your body that you need to be releasing. And there's just so much, I love that there's so much scientific research about this now, right? It's not just a woo-woo thing anymore. There's actually scientific research in doing this. So for those of you who are struggling and wondering like, oh my God, what do I do next? I've been doing the gluten-free and I've been doing this herb and I've been doing that and I'm still not quite there. It's really something to explore. And I'd encourage you to at least download the blueprint and start listening to some of these tracks, because I think it's really great. And you can download it, like you said, to your iTunes, I guess, from there and listen to it on a regular basis. So when you start to feel that emotion brew up, you can just go, gling.
Yeah. And you know, the thing that I want to emphasize is that all of those pieces of the puzzle are integral and important. So the herbs are important, the foods are important, the exercise is important. And sometimes you just need just one more thing to just break open the floodgates for that bounty to just flow. You know, we often talk about the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, this is the reverse of it. This is the one little, the whisper that opens the floodgates.
I love that. Yeah, I love the way you just said that, because it makes a lot of sense. And I love that you brought up, I was thinking of that earlier, that it's not saying that this isn't important and this is, because you see a lot of that out there. We see a lot of absoluteness and a lot of dogma. You've got to eat this diet and no other diet is right. You don't need to worry about diet. Just affirmations and everything's going to be fine. Just believe, just, set your expectations and it's all going to work. And it's not very intricate bodies and minds and souls and hearts. And we really have to look at healing as the blending of all of that. And some people have no problem. They take the herbs, they do the diet. You see those all the time too, right? And they're just off and running. And then somebody else is like constantly struggling with it and doing all the right things and not getting it. And that's where these kind of things are so important and invaluable in the healing process.
And the thing that I love to emphasize from what you're saying is that, as my mom always says, there's a time and a place for everything under the heavens. And what that means to me is that for me in my life, things were going well and it's like, yeah. And then I just hit against a block, and it's like all of my old techniques, all of my old tools and tricks, they weren't working anymore. And so that's really why I started this journey of going back and realizing, oh, this is what I need to open this particular door, and no other key was going to do it for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the website, what's your website? Give people your website so they can go there if you have it.
My website is Sankofa Healing, S as in Sam, A, N as in Nancy, K-O, F as in Frank, A, Sankofa Healing.com. And really, Sankofa means to go back and fetch the wisdom of the past. Because what we keep on saying with Heartsong is that it's the song that you've forgotten. The song that has always been with you, but you never realized it. And so this is not putting something new on your plate. This is going through the process of remembering what you came here for, and remembering what you need to heal, to bring forth your divine self, to bring forth the beauty and the prosperity and the health that you were supposed to have from the very beginning.
Fantastic. Wow. And we've put my team has gone ahead and put the link to your blueprint and the harmonics on there. So really go ahead and do that and listen to this stuff. I had the opportunity of, like I said, being with Michelle in person a month ago at our retreat, our practitioner retreat in Florida. And she played these for us, and they're beautiful. It triggers an emotional response. And that's actually what we need to do. And just going back and believing in who we are, like the beauty and the value that we have, and being reminded in every core of our being. So thank you. Thank you. I'm going to see if there's any questions, because sometimes there's questions that pop up. And what I'm going to do is see if I can find this. Let's see. I always have trouble finding, comments somehow on the Facebook page. So let's see. Actually, if there's any questions, go ahead and somebody ask Keldy or somebody that's on. If you can just type it in for me. Any questions? Let me see. Or comments. So put your comments. I would recommend you go and put some hearts up and thank Michelle for this wonderful presentation and just opening up something new in your life. Any questions?
And feel free to email me, anyone, if you have any thoughts, any comments, any experiences, that you would like to share. I'm very, very much interested, and I respond to all of my emails.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. I just can't seem to be, sometimes I'm able to see the comments and sometimes I'm not. So I don't understand it. I'm not able to see them today. So, oh wait, they're off to the right side. Oh my goodness, look at all these folks that have joined. Regina Heffler, she's my cousin from California. Kathy, Edie, Sherry, Mara, Vivi, Sheila, Shonda, Sandy, Laura Fenimore, yoo-hoo, I haven't talked to you in ages. Ronnie, Joyce Phelps, wow, I haven't talked to you in ages either. Stevie, Alexander, Robert Rubel, my cousin, holy cow, we really attracted a huge crowd here. Sharon, wow. Angela, Christine, I haven't talked to you in forever either, and Tony from NEPT, Kat, Laura, Lynn, Keldy, Alan. Wow, Alan, I haven't talked to you in forever. This looks like you brought out all these people in my life that I haven't talked to in forever. Laura and Lynn and John and Debbie Bartz. Wow, all of you, thank you for being here. Do you have questions or comments? I would love, and send some hearts over. Just let's see a bunch of hearts come over, Michelle. She really, coming out and sharing, when you come out and share stuff that's from deep within, it's a little scary, right? I mean, it can be scary because you're not just telling people about some thyroid lab that's just real stuff, right? It's scientific facts. This is stuff that's really deep.
And that brings up something. When we say heart song, do not feel that you have to be a Patti LaBelle. This is not about whether or not you can hit a note. It has nothing to do with that. If you need to go into the shower, whatever it is, it's, we have so much caught up in our throat that we don't express, that we don't let go, that we don't release.
Yes.
And that's what's keeping us blocked and keeping us from healing. So,
absolutely,
forget whomever you may think may be listening to you. It's not about them. It's all about you. And whatever comes out of you will be beautiful because it is an expression of who you are.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so, so important for people to realize. And you are beautiful, whether you can hit the notes or not. I can't hit a note to save my life that doesn't devalue me in any way at all. And that's something that you just absolutely have to realize. Okay, so here's some comments. Now I found the comments. I had to go looking all over the place. So we put up the link, drritamarie.com/go/heartsongbp. It's a little easier than, that's the blueprint.
Yeah.
Sharon said, much like the voice I forgot. Tony, very generous. Michelle, thank you for sharing. Yay. Yay. Anybody else? Edie, I agree. There is so much here. Love. Thanks both for this. Yay. Anybody else want to comment or ask a question while we're here? Otherwise, we will call it a day. Thank you guys so much for all your great, just your great presence, and for thank you, Michelle, for bringing out all these people I haven't heard from or spoken to in a long time. It's so cool. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Check it out. I would highly recommend you get her blueprint. It's posted as a pinned comment there. Just click the link and listen. Just listen and listen into your heart. And if you really feel moved and want to really go deep with this and learn and work with Michelle directly to get your heart song and free up some of this stuff, then I highly recommend that you follow through. And email. What's your email again? We'll get that done.
My email is Sankofa, @gmail.com.
All right. Sankofa, HE.
For healing enrichment.
Okay.
@gmail.com.
gmail.com. Okay. We'll make sure that gets posted also in there. So if anybody has any questions or somebody's listening later and really feels like they're moved and want to email you, they can do that. So thank you. I so appreciate you being here. It's just been a joy and a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for your participation.